Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, June 1. On this date in 1998, WCW Monday Nitro aired live from Washington, D.C. In the main event, Kevin Nash and Lex Luger defeated Hollywood Hogan and the Giant by disqualification. On this date in 2004, WWE SmackDown was taped in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. In the main event, The Undertaker fought Booker T to a no contest. On this date in 2008, WWE held its One Night Stand pay-per-view. In the main event, Edge defeated The Undertaker in a TLC match for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 2009, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from Birmingham, Alabama. In the main event, Ric Flair fought Randy Orton to a no contest in an unsanctioned fight. This has been Today in Wrestling History, June 1. Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, talking all kinds of stuff, TNA, WWE, and we delved a little bit into it. We're going to go back to Raw here in just a second for a pretty notable development for the Payback pay-per-view. Actually, two notable developments as far as the two matches that have now been announced. Initially, we thought it was going to be John Cena defending the WWE Championship against Ryback in an ambulance match, and that may still be the case, but the match has now been changed to a 3 Stages of Hell match. I almost feel like I want to announce that like Vince McMahon, just the 3 Stages of Hell. You know, one of the. It just sounds like something he probably came up with, you know, behind the scenes. Is like, oh, that sounds good. Anyway, it's essentially a 2 out of 3 falls match with each fall having some sort of a gimmick. So the first fall is going to be a lumberjack match. So a bunch of wrestlers outside the ring to make sure neither of them runs away, although doesn't seem to make sense because they both want at each other. I don't know. I don't come up with these things. The second fall will be a tables match, which a bit of a demonstration was put on by Ryback over the course of the week, and that actually led to an injury that we'll talk about in news and notes coming up. And then the third fall, if necessary, will be the aforementioned ambulance match. So there you go, a lumberjack match for the first fall, tables match for the second fall, and if necessary, an ambulance match, all between John Cena and Ryback. Certainly a lot. And then the other match that was set up, well, it came courtesy of Chris Jericho's highlight reel where he had Paul Heyman
seen before
on. Yeah, Paul Heyman he had on the highlight reel.
When Paul Heyman takes a raw piece of talent and discovers and develops that new talent, like what I have done with Curtis Axel, who last week took out Triple H and tonight steps up to the plate against the WWE champion John Cena.
Well, I have to be honest, I've been a big fan of Curtis Axel for a long time. I think he's got tremendous potential, but I don't want to talk about Curtis Axel. I want to talk about your other client,
Brock Lesnar. And I am so glad that you brought that up, Mr. Jericho. I am so proud to be the advocate for Brock Lesnar, the only man to hold the NCAA Division I Heavyweight Championship.
Paul, would you please shut the hell up? I don't want to talk about Curtis Axel. I don't care what Brock Lesnar's doing on his spring break. The Paul Heyman guy that I want to talk about is your other client, CM Punk.
What do you want me to tell you? Do you want me to come out here and I mean, CM Punk said it himself. The man was the longest reigning defending WWE champion of the past 25 years. He held the title for 434 consecutive days, and he didn't have to come out here and say stupid things like, I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. No, he was the best in the world. He dominated WWE like no other champion before him, and he never got the respect.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah 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 blah. Where is CM Punk?
My client and I will have an announcement coming in the next few weeks right here on Raw regarding, ladies and gentlemen, I assure you, the return of the best in the world.
No. CM Punk is not allowed to sit at home for 6 weeks and still be referred to as the best in the world.
Well, I have a client sitting at home in Chicago right now who would vehemently disagree with your assessment, Mr. Jericho.
Chris Jericho is the best.
Don't say it.
Jericho is the best.
Don't say it. It's not yours to say. You don't have a right to claim that title.
Well, it's definitely not Punk's right anymore. Like I said, if he wants to stay at home in Chicago, then he can't be best in the world. Unless, of course, he decides to come to Payback and prove it by facing me one-on-one on pay-per-view once again.
Let me get this straight. You're going to negotiate with me now? With all due respect, Mr. Jericho, I know you could mop the floor with me, but you don't get to dictate terms to Paul Heyman and CM Punk.
Okay, fair enough. Let Punk stay at home, and let me say right now that Chris Jericho, and everyone can say it with me, Chris Jericho is the best in the world at what I do.
You, Chris Jericho, want a match with CM Punk in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown. You, Chris Jericho, want a match with CM Punk in Chicago, his hometown, at Payback. Well, Chris Jericho, on behalf of my client, CM Punk, I accept.
Well, thank you. I guess I'll see you in Chicago. And tell Punk, after Payback, he will never, ever be the same again.
Yes. So now it is set. Chris Jericho and CM Punk for Payback coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow. All right, let's get into some news and notes. Got a few minutes left here. Now, I mentioned an injury that occurred courtesy of Ryback. Kofi Kingston out for 4 to 8 weeks, apparently getting put through those tables. Messed up his elbow. WWE.com reporting Kofi Kingston will undergo surgery on his elbow and is expected to be out for 4 to 8 weeks. And in another injury note, somebody might be returning this weekend. WWE advertising Dolph Ziggler for live events in Bethlehem PM later tonight, as well as Poughkeepsie, New York tomorrow. He's also advertised for this Monday's Raw and Tuesday's SmackDown tapings, along with other events going forward. He has been on the shelf with a concussion since May 7th, just under a month. Also, an Evan Bourne update. There's a name we haven't heard in quite a while. WWE wrestler Evan Bourne asked by a Twitter follower when he will return to the ring. He tweeted, "I'm healthy enough. It will be soon." He did return to an NXT ring a couple of months ago, and that was his first match back since he injured his foot in that car accident going all the way back to March of last year, 2012. So he's been out of a WWE ring for over a year now. Part of that, of course, a couple of violations of the wellness policy. That certainly didn't help matters either. Also, it seems like every week there's some sort of a Hulk Hogan story, and here it is for this week. Hogan announcing that he went to the emergency room last week at Tampa General Hospital after a radiator exploded on his hand, is how he put it in Twitter. He included some graphic photos of the injury on his Twitter, and then, having second thoughts, he issued an apology to his Twitter followers after posting photos of the hand that he burned. He said, "I apologize for posting my burned hand photos. With all the feedback, I now realize I should really take a moment before I make a decision." Because apparently it was too graphic for a lot of people, brother. Who knew? Speaking of too graphic, oh boy.
And absurd.
And absurd, yes. Longtime pro wrestler and promoter Eugene Buck Zumhoff. Probably, fans in the AWA might remember him from the 80s, and he also did some stuff in a few other promotions. But he was arrested in Kandiyohi County, Minnesota on Monday and is facing several criminal sexual conduct charges. He appeared in court on Tuesday in district court to face 6 felony counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct and 6 felony counts of third-degree criminal sexual conduct. His bail set at $500,000 for unconditional release and $100,000 cash or bond for conditional release. The victim claims that Zumhoff started, having sex with her in 1999 when she was 15 years old. Just a year after she had met him, the abuse continued until 2011. She estimated that approximately 1,800 separate acts of sexual abuse occurred. Zumhoff had his most successful run in the AWA promotion in the 80s. He also did jobs for the WWF and had a brief run in World Class Championship Wrestling that ended prematurely due to his legal issues. He'd also been promoting shows in the Midwest for many years. Crazy stories that go on in wrestling. All right. Also, I teased it earlier. We talked a little bit about it, but a wrestler in the White House? Who knows? Feels like we've been down this road before, but former WWE wrestler and announcer Jesse Ventura floated the idea of running for U.S. president yesterday in Minnesota, according to the Associated Press.
Oh. Here I mentioned he was governor, as though I didn't think he'd run for president. I didn't think it was him.
Now, Ventura, speaking at Minnesota's Capitol, said that the 2016 presidential race is an, quote, opportune time for an independent candidate to run for president because it will be an open race. President Obama not being able to run as he has served his 2 terms. He said also, the key to this next election, I think, will be a candidate who doesn't belong to a political party and who has the ability to rise above the mainstream and get the press, which I've never had a problem doing.
Well, I thought he did a good job as governor of Oklahoma.
Which I was going to say, it's kind of funny considering he was governor of Minnesota.
No, I couldn't resist. No, all kidding aside, he proved something when he won the election, that it is a numbers game.
Yeah.
And I didn't take him very seriously, and by most accounts, he did a very good job, honestly. And he said he'd 1 term and that'd be it. Up there, up Minnesota.
He left in 2003.
I couldn't resist putting the dollar on that one. I just had to.
Ventura, he said he recently approached radio host Howard Stern to be his running mate.
Oh, Jesus. No, he had a room in the whole thing, didn't he? Do you want to know something? That is going to be there were people who thought that Howard Stern could win as governor. You know how absurd that is?
Because, well, now that he's languished in satellite for forever now.
And he's barely in the public eye.
Yeah.
As a result of it, and they brought him back on that TV show, I think.
I didn't even know that.
One of the talent shows or the idol shows, they had him on there for a little bit, I think.
The America's Got Talent. I know. Okay.
I don't really watch these shows, so I just know what I hear.
I don't either.
But the problem with Stern, and I'm not criticizing his brain matter. I'm really not. What I'm about to say about him is more so that, listen, not everybody likes him, and he did draw a pretty good audience at one time. I don't know if he does now. And not only that, there are a lot of people who don't like him. A lot of people don't like him. And having 10% of the radio audience is not enough to win an election.
No. And
then again, and you figure out that 10%.
How many of them are actually voting?
Well, not only that, how many of them would vote for him anyway? I mean, it doesn't mean because you listen to him, you like him, and you're going to vote for him. And that's what I said to a friend of mine once. I jokingly said, if he went down here, you can get his 10%. And my friend thought I insulted him. No, I said he's got 10% of a radio audience. And that's a good share. But it doesn't mean you've got 100% of the voters, You follow what I'm saying? So...
Interesting. But yes, Ventura claiming Stern has expressed interest, according to the AP report.
You're going to lose, Jesse.
Ventura was governor of Minnesota from 99 to 03, opting not to run for office again after his term ended.
You're better off with Al Sharpton. I'm not kidding. You're better off picking Al Sharpton.
All right. Also, some movie news. WWE meets the Flintstones. WWE Studios and Warner Brothers are teaming up to produce a new animated Flintstones movie. You should have figured this coming with the whole Fruity Pebbles stuff. With a 2015 release, there will be several characters based on WWE personalities, including Vince McMagma, John Cena Stone, and CM Punk Rock. I kid you not. And other movie news.
You know why this is funny? Because I remember Ann Margrock, Stoney Curtis,
yep.
Perry Masonry, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Sonny Listone. I mean,
Sonny
you know.
Listone,
so
yeah.
I think this is great.
Oh, it's very clever.
Oh, God.
And also tomorrow for TNA Slammiversary broadcast in French. TNA Slammiversary will have the first ever French broadcast team for an American wrestling pay-per-view, or so they claim. Celian Verini and Gregory Diaz will join the English and Spanish broadcast teams at ringside for the entire show. I think what makes this historical is that they will be broadcasting live to France. But I remember back in the mid-'90s, the WWF having Jacques Rougeau Sr. and Raymond Rougeau doing French commentary for their pay-per-views. Who knows?
CM Punk Rock.
Also, if you haven't already, head down to Comic-Con in Philly. Daniel Bryan's there until 3:30 this afternoon. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat until 4. That's it from me. Nick Cataldi's next. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly on WBCB.
1490 WBCB, Levittown, Fairless Hills, Trenton.